Let's get right into it. Number 8. Sympathy Overdose. Picture this. Your friend is crying over a bad breakup, and you, being the kind, emotionally attuned soul you are, decide to really be there for them. You lean in, listen deeply, and practically inhale their emotional misery like it's the world's saddest scented candle. By the end, you're a human sponge, soaked in secondhand sadness, while they've perked up enough to go get ice cream. Meanwhile, you're lying on your bed later, staring at the ceiling, feeling like you just got dumped. Welcome to the joy of emotional contagion. Your brain, specifically your mirror neuron system, is wired to reflect what other people feel. It's why laughter spreads in movie theaters, why yawns are weirdly infectious, and why one grumpy coworker can make the whole office feel like a DMV waiting room. The problem? If you're too empathetic, you don't just understand someone's feelings, you become their unpaid emotional stunt double. This constant emotional download actually stresses your body out, cortisol levels rise, your immune system sulks, and you might even start avoiding people altogether just to dodge the feelings avalanche. That's called empathy burnout, and yes, it's basically emotional food poisoning. You thought you were helping, but now you're bedridden with a case of other people's problems. The irony? While empathy is supposed to make you more connected, overdosing on it can leave you detached and cynical. You go from, "I'm here for you," to, "I can't even watch a sad commercial without wanting to move to a cave." Basically, you're not a therapist, you're a Netflix binge with legs. Know your limits before your brain turns into a 24/7 emotional call center. Number 7. Selective Empathy. Your brain is a little judgy when it comes to empathy. You'd think it's an equal opportunity compassion machine. But nope. Science says you're more likely to feel deeply for people who look, talk, or live like you. Translation: empathy is a bit of a biased gossip. Studies using fMRI scans have shown that we actually get stronger empathic brain activity when we see people from our own group in pain compared to strangers or outsiders. This isn't just about race or nationality. It could be sports teams, political parties, even whether someone prefers cats or dogs. And yes, your dog people brain might secretly root against cat lovers in the Hunger Games of life. This selective empathy has an evolutionary backstory. Your ancient ancestors needed to protect their tribe to survive. Caring too much about strangers could mean wasting resources, and in prehistoric terms, resources meant not starving to death. So our brains kept compassion local, like an exclusive VIP lounge for people we recognize. The problem? In modern times, this bias can quietly feed prejudice. If you only empathize with your people, you're more likely to dismiss others' struggles, or worse, justify their suffering. That's empathy's evil twin, the ability to understand someone's pain and not care. So next time you feel your compassion turning into a members-only club, remember, empathy isn't supposed to be a Costco card. Number 6. The manipulator's favorite tool. Here's a fun fact. Empathy is basically a cheat code for manipulation. If you can feel what someone else feels, you can use that knowledge to control them. It's why some of the most charming villains in history, con artists, cult leaders, politicians, have sky-high social intuition. They're not emotionally clueless, they're emotional engineers. When someone knows your fears, desires, and insecurities, they can shape their words and actions to steer you like a remote-controlled car. They might play the victim to trigger your sympathy, guilt-trip you into compliance, or make you feel uniquely understood, so you'll lower your defenses. It's empathy without compassion, a scalpel instead of a hug. This is called cognitive empathy, and unlike the warm and fuzzy emotional kind, it's more about reading your emotional landscape than feeling it. Think of it as emotional X-ray vision. They can see your feelings, but they don't have to share them. And without the sharing part, empathy becomes just data. Data that can be weaponized. So yes, empathy can save relationships, start social movements, and comfort crying toddlers, but it can also sell you a timeshare in Florida. Number 5. Empathy hangovers. Ever been to a funeral for someone you didn't even know that well, only to leave feeling like your soul just ran a marathon through a swamp? That's an empathy hangover. It's like the emotional equivalent of eating way too much cake. You thought it would be nice, but now you're bloated with feelings you didn't ask for. When you immerse yourself in other people's emotions, your brain treats those feelings as if they're yours. Neurologically speaking, your anterior insula and anterior cingulate cortex, two regions tied to empathy, light up whether it's your pain or someone else's. So when your friend tells you about their nightmare boss or messy divorce, your brain is basically saying, "Cool, let's add that to our personal trauma collection." The hangover hits because your nervous system has been revved up for hours. All that sympathetic nervous system activity, fight or flight mode, needs time to wind down. Until then, you're left tired, irritable, and possibly binge-watching reality TV in sweatpants while questioning why you feel like the one going through a midlife crisis. The kicker? You can't cure an empathy hangover with greasy food and electrolyte drinks. You have to actually give your brain downtime, silence, distraction, or even deliberately focusing on neutral information. If not, you're signing up for round 2 the next time someone starts venting about their ex. Basically, empathy hangovers are proof that emotional drinking is a thing. Number 4, pain amplifier mode. Sometimes empathy doesn't just make you feel someone's pain, it turns it up like your brain's running a sadistic little DJ booth. It's called vicarious pain, and it's not just a metaphor. If you see someone stub their toe or cut their finger, the part of your brain that processes pain can activate as if it were your toe or your finger. In extreme cases, you might actually feel a twinge or ache in your own body. It's the universe's worst special effect. While this sounds sweet, your brain cares so much, it's actually not very useful. Imagine being a battlefield medic and collapsing every time you see blood because your own body is staging a sympathy protest. Or being a parent who can't watch their kid get a shot without feeling like they've been stabbed in the arm. From an evolutionary perspective, this shared pain probably made us more likely to protect others in our group. But in modern life, it's just a fast track to stress overload. Every scraped knee, every cringe-worthy movie injury scene, every viral video of someone falling off a skateboard, they all feel like your problem now. In short, your nervous system is cosplaying as everyone else's, which sounds noble, until you realize it's making you miserable. Number 3, empathy paralysis. Here's the dark irony, sometimes too much empathy makes you less likely to help. If you're so overwhelmed by someone's pain that you're basically drowning in it, your brain's problem-solving abilities take a back seat. It's called empathic distress, and it turns you into a deer in emotional headlights. Instead of thinking, what can I do to help, your mind goes, nope, can't handle this, and you mentally eject from the situation. This is why some people freeze in emergencies or avoid friends in crisis, not because they don't care, but because they care so much that they short-circuit. It's like watching someone juggle chainsaws and being so shocked that you just stand there, mouth open, doing nothing, while they lose a finger. The worst part? Too much empathic distress can actually reduce compassion over time. If every cry for help feels like a tidal wave, you eventually stop going to the beach. So yeah, turns out the most caring people can sometimes end up the least helpful in a crisis. Nature's little prank. Number 2, guilt by empathy. Sometimes empathy doesn't just make you feel bad for someone, it makes you feel bad about yourself. You see a friend struggling to pay rent while you're sitting there with your overpriced coffee and functioning Wi-Fi, and suddenly, every sip tastes like moral failure. Or you hear about a disaster halfway across the world and immediately spiral into, why am I not doing more? Should I sell all my stuff and move there to help? Mode. This is empathy-induced guilt, and your brain is particularly good at it because it evolved to keep you in check socially. Feeling someone else's pain creates a subconscious urge to equalize the emotional scales. In hunter-gatherer times, that meant sharing your food or helping them hunt. Today, it often means a cycle of, I feel bad but I can't fix it, so now I feel worse, which, spoiler alert, helps absolutely no one. This guilt spiral can even be manipulated by others. Charities know this. They don't just show you statistics, they show you faces. A single crying child on a poster will make your wallet cry faster than any pie chart ever could. The logic bypasses your reasoning entirely and just presses the big red feel bad button in your head. At its worst, empathy guilt makes you avoid thinking about the problem altogether because the weight of not doing enough becomes unbearable, which is basically the empathy equivalent of throwing a blanket over a messy room. Number 1, compassion fatigue. And finally, the boss level of empathy burnout, compassion fatigue. This is the point where your emotional fuel tank is running so low that even the cutest puppy videos can't make you care. Compassion fatigue is common among healthcare workers, therapists, humanitarian aid staff, basically anyone whose job involves constant exposure to suffering. Over time, your brain adapts by building emotional calluses. At first, it's just to protect you from overload, but eventually, it can flatten your empathy altogether. It's not laziness, it's neuroscience. The more your amygdala and prefrontal cortex get bombarded with emotional distress signals, the more your brain starts turning the volume down, just to keep you functioning. The result? You become emotionally numb, detached, maybe even cynical. You start saying things like, yeah, sure, another crisis, put it on the pile. The danger is that once empathy shuts down, so does compassion-driven action. You might still go through the motions, but you're basically a vending machine for help. Input request, output assistance, zero emotional connection. Recovering from compassion fatigue means deliberately recharging your emotional reserves, setting boundaries, practicing self-care, and yes, sometimes stepping back from helping altogether, which sounds selfish, until you remember that you can't pour from an empty cup, especially if that cup's been sitting under a waterfall of human misery for years.